Welcome to Epic Story Hub, where ordinary moments turn into extraordinary journeys. Today, we bring you a story that begins not with turbulence or screaming, but with quiet vulnerability. A young woman asleep in row 13 of an airplane, unaware that her night was about to change forever. The cabin lights dim the hum of engines, filling the space around her, the gentle rocking of the aircraft lulling her deeper into sleep. Her head resting lightly against the window, her hands folded over the small travel pillow. She thought she would rest peacefully on this overnight flight between two distant cities, dreaming of home, or perhaps of nothing at all. The passengers around her were either asleep or immersed in their devices, screens glowing softly, the air filled with the faint scent of coffee and recycled air. And in the dim aisle, the flight attendants moved carefully, offering blankets, water, snacks. Each step measured the low murmur of voices, blending with the mechanical heartbeat of the plane. And yet amid this ordinary night, something extraordinary was about to unfold. High above the clouds, the cockpit was alive with screens and instruments blinking and beeping. The captain and first officer focused intently on the flight path, checking altitudes and weather patterns, adjusting dials, monitoring communications, and yet a subtle tension hung in the air. Something was off. A slight deviation detected a pattern in the radar that suggested a disturbance far ahead, and the captain's eyes narrowed as he weighed the options, silently calculating risk and safety. Minute by minute, second by second, knowing the fate of hundreds of passengers rested entirely on their choices. Back in row 13, she stirred slightly, shifting her position, a faint snore escaping her lips. She had been exhausted from work, from travel, from days that felt like weeks, but then a voice broke through the low murmur of the cabin. A voice calm, yet commanding, reaching through the intercom and into the ears of every passenger. "Attention please," the captain spoke, and in that moment, she woke startled, blinking her eyes against the dim light. A voice she did not recognize, yet somehow commanding, filled her mind. The words were simple, yet urgent. "Is there any trained pilot on board? Any qualified to assist in the cockpit? Please make yourself known." Confusion swept through the cabin, whispers running like ripples across water, passengers turning heads, eyes wide, murmurs rising. Some laughed nervously, others froze afraid. The words repeated a call for help, and she realized that something was seriously wrong. The first officer's voice crackled through as well, confirming turbulence had not caused this. This was something else, a mechanical failure, or a rare emergency that required immediate attention. Her mind raced. She had training. She had taken lessons months ago. She had studied aviation theory. She had spent hours in flight simulators, practicing emergency procedures, memorizing cockpit layouts, the first time she ever saw an aircraft up close. Her heart had raced, and yet now her knowledge felt distant, until the captain spoke again, urging those with expertise to step forward, and she felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins, waking every sense to sharp awareness. Her hand trembled slightly as she stood up, her backpack dropping to the floor. She walked swiftly yet carefully through the aisle toward the cockpit, the other passengers watching her eyes wide, some whispering murmurs of disbelief. She had only ever been a student yet. Here she was stepping into the role she had imagined only in practice, facing a situation she could not simulate, a real emergency, hundreds of lives dependent on her choices and courage. The cockpit door opened cautiously as she knocked her hand firm against the frame. A voice came through. "Are you a trained pilot?" "Yes," she said, steadying her voice. "I have completed certified training simulators and hours in the cockpit. I can assist." The captain and the first officer paused for a moment, assessing her presence, checking credentials through her voice and her demeanor. Finally opening the door and allowing her entry, the atmosphere inside tense thick with anticipation. The hum of instruments mixing with the rapid beat of her own heart, she approached the controls, her hands hovering over the switches, levers, dials, all familiar, yet frighteningly real. The captain nodded his head, gesturing her to take the co-pilot seat. Calm but alert, follow my instructions, precisely every command. She listened, absorbing every word, adjusting throttle, monitoring instruments, responding to prompts, her hands moving with precision, and yet with a careful awareness, every decision, calculated every motion, deliberate. Outside the windows, clouds roiled the sky, a storm approaching faster than anticipated, lightning flashing across the horizon, illuminating the aircraft in stark white. The first officer monitored altitude, making adjustments while she coordinated. Alongside him, guiding minor corrections, managing stabilizers, reporting readings, the hum of the engines, steady but strained turbulence, growing stronger. Passengers unaware of the heroics unfolding just a few rows behind their slumber. Minutes stretched into eternity, seconds measured in heartbeats, sweat dripping down her temples. Her mind focused entirely on procedure, on control, on communication. The captain's voice, calm and clear, guiding her. The first officer confirming every adjustment, reassuring her presence. And then a sudden alert blared on the console. A minor electrical failure. Secondary systems affected the autopilot, failing partially. A critical situation. The cabin shaking. Slightly. She did not hesitate. Recalling training. Rerouting power. Managing the override. Implementing protocols. Relaying updates to the captain. The first officer coordinating with ground control. And the hum of teamwork, synchronizing into a symphony of survival. The passengers continued to murmur, unaware of the drama. A child in row 14 stirring. Frightened a mother, soothing, quietly drinks. Spilling slightly from cups. Napkins rustling. And yet all of this, minor chaos, contrasted against the precise dance of three pilots navigating the skies through unexpected turbulence and system failures. The storm outside growing wilder, gusts buffeting the plane, like hands testing the steel wings. Determination, courage training, all fused together in a ballet of crisis management. Hours felt like minutes, and minutes, like hours as they worked in tandem, adjusting for wind shear, calculating descent, trajectory, monitoring engine temperature, fuel pressure, altitude stability, checking every gauge until at last the airport came into view. Lights blinking, guidance markers directing their descent. She followed instructions, carefully implementing flaps, adjusting speed, communicating with tower, executing emergency landing protocol, step-by-step coordination, flawless nerves, taught, and every ounce of knowledge applied precisely. The runway approached landing gear, down speed reduced alignment, confirmed smooth descent, and then with a slight jolt, the plane touched the tarmac tires, screeching slightly, controlled but steady. The captain exhaled, releasing tension, passengers oblivious, still murmuring awake. Finally secure the aircraft rolling to a stop, guided to parking brakes, engaged engines powering down safely. She realized the magnitude of what had just transpired. Hundreds of lives preserved, because she had acted, because she had remembered training, because she had stayed calm under pressure. As the cabin doors opened, emergency personnel entering, passengers clapping softly, realizing something extraordinary had just occurred, and she sat back in her seat, blinking exhausted, overwhelmed yet proud. The captain extended a hand, shaking hers. Words of thanks, deep respect in his eyes, acknowledging her courage, professionalism, calm under pressure. Her small act resonating through every crew member present. News reporters quickly capturing the scene. Cameras flashing, stories forming headlines. Hero passenger assists in emergency flight. Young woman saves hundreds. Others telling the story of a student turned unexpected hero whose quick thinking prevented catastrophe. And yet she remained modest, humble, quietly smiling, knowing she had simply done what needed to be done. Back home, she would recount the tale to family friends, her mother hugging her tightly, whispering, "We are so proud." Her father nodding silent admiration, understanding her strength, and resolved the lessons of courage, responsibility, decisiveness etched in memory forever. A moment that would stay with her, shaping future choices, inspiring others, teaching that sometimes extraordinary moments come to ordinary people, demanding bravery, precision, and clarity. This was Epic Story Hub, where ordinary lives reveal extraordinary truths. Subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after they end, because the next moment may just change the way you see the world.